All right, guys, welcome to lecture two, which is about collegiate athletic governance, specifically about governing bodies and conferences. So, listen, those of you who did what you're supposed to do, I really appreciate it for week one. Keep in mind, guys, in this class, everything is 10%. So if you fail to do the first forum, um, which wasn't the introduction forum, it was the other forum that's on there. If you didn't do that, then basically you can't get better than a 90 in this class already. So three of those and you fail the class. This week's going to have some new stuff on here. It'll be our first case study and our first use of Flipgrid, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So let's jump into collegiate athletic governance. So the purpose of having a governing organization, and this means it could be the NAI or the NCAA. One, they regulate media and TV. They control that money because that is the most money. And they're supposed to enforce amateurism. And later on in the class, we'll talk about this concept of amateurism. And the keys to, and this doesn't just have to be a governing organization for sport, but the keys to success for any sport organization is one, they have to be innovative, meaning that they have to be on the cutting edge of what's going on. They can't stay behind the times. Look at how the NCAA right now is struggling with whether to pay players, how to pay players. They need to have speed and flexibility, meaning they need to move on issues when they need to move on them. And they need to have flexibility to deal with different situations. And they have to continue to grow. That means adding new sports, changing conferences, more media coverage. Because if they don't grow, then people will find something else to watch. So there's going to be a lot of links in this. And so we're going to start with talking about the core values of the NCAA and the NAIA. And so the NCAA has a couple of core values. They want to be a collegiate model for athletics. They want to have integrity and sportsmanship. They want to promote academics and athletics. They want to have an inclusive culture, which means that they're inclusive of all backgrounds. They want to have respect for the institutions, meaning that the institutions can make their own decisions, and then they want to have leadership from the presidents of the institutions. Now, for the NAIA, you all should be familiar with the core values, which is the champions of character. Okay, and I'm not going to go into that a lot, but it's more just so you understand kind of how these organizations operate. Now, the next slide is going to take kind of about the role of missions, and I won't spend a lot of time on these because I want you to be able to go and click on the links yourself. So, a little bit about the NCAA. This is kind of an infographic. It talks about the number of members, who's included in all these different things, meaning who helps make things come together. It talks about the number of athletes, how the rules work, and so I'll let you guys click on this and see more about it and be able to kind of understand what's going on with it. As you know, the NCAA is three divisions, and they're three distinctly different divisions. Division one gets the most praise. It has the most enrollment, but at the same point, Division three has the most schools. It also has the highest percentage of non-scholarship athletes because there are no scholarships. And it also has the highest graduation rate, which is Division three. And so this is just kind of the infographic that I want you guys to be able to look at and kind of understand what it's about. As far as NAIA goes, the NAIA is a little more than 250 colleges, okay, about 65,000 athletes, and they don't have near the scholarship money. And this is kind of a history that talks about how the NAIA has come to be. You can understand the NAIA is much older than the NCAA. And then this is a neat little resource you guys can look at on your own that I found. This is just a bunch of videos that kind of talks about every aspect of NAI that you ever want to know about. Now, understand, and this is the biggest misconception, these governing bodies, NCAA and NAI, it's voluntary. You don't have to be a member of these things. And it's a bottom-up control, meaning that the schools actually control what's going on. So if you looked at how that went, it would be basically the student athlete is the first person in control. They're in control of their eligibility, their grades. Then the coach, then compliance, then the AD, and then it gets to these internal and external stakeholders. So for instance, I'm an internal stakeholder because I'm the faculty athletic rep, but external stakeholders might be in NCAA. There's an organization called the Knight Commission, and it's a group of academics who kind of provides oversight and suggestions of athletics. And so you have to be able to deal with both of those. Okay, but understand, I think people think that it's dictated from the top, and that's not necessarily how it goes. And so this is just a kind of talking about how each of the NCAA and NAI, how they function or how they work. And so this is just a big graphic that's going to talk about just how, basically how this works. And understand that there's councils of presidents in the NCAA, and then you have board of governors, and you have all these these committees for everything, from sportsmanship to research. And so all these things work together in order to create a rule book and to enforce the rules. I know the face everybody sees is the president, which is Mark Emmert, but he's selected by the presidents. Okay, so this just kind of gives you an idea of how everything works, how people vote. And again, you can look at these more in depth yourself. And then this next one's going to talk about the governance of the NAI. And you can see it's the Council of Presidents sits at the top. So again, there's everything is dictated from the schools, not from the actual organization, which people think. So from a standpoint of conferences, they're there for a couple of reasons. One, they're there for rules. Okay, to help enforce the rules, to manage eligibility, and to make it easier for people to travel. If there were no conferences, people would try to take advantage and they would never be in school. And we'll look here in just a second of how conferences have shuffled from time to time. And it is crazy how many people move conferences. And understand they're moving it for specific reasons, mainly to try to take advantage of what's best for their school. So one of the things that a conference can do is, and this is one thing that you're going to do for your Flipgrid, is you're going to look at some of the visions and goals of conferences, and I want you to analyze those and think about them from the standpoint of the goals that a conference put forth for its members should be specific. They should have enough meaning to motivate the schools to do something. They have to be accepted by all the schools. They should be realistic, meaning that you should be able to do them, but at the same point, they can't be pushover goals. They have to be challenging, and they have to have a time stamp on them or a time frame. These are good ways to kind of evaluate what a conference is doing for individual schools. Guys, this is, and you can't hear me in this, so I'll go ahead and talk over it. This is just a clip, and I put the link to it in Eagle Web, and I'll show you in a second. This is just a visual of how many times people have moved conferences. This is insane. But understand, they're all doing it for a reason. Last couple of things we're going to talk about is finances. Obviously, this gets a big, a lot of people care about this, and so the NCAA kind of lets you know a little bit of where their money comes from. And this just lays it out. Okay, it talks about where the money goes. Okay, so you can look, $205 million to scholarships. Okay, it goes back to talking about who it supports. Okay, it talks about, this is an interesting deal. There are 85 championships, only 5 or there's 90 championships, only 5 are sustainable, meaning that they pay for themselves. Okay, I mean, that's men's basketball, men's ice hockey, men's lacrosse, wrestling, and the College World Series. Those are the only ones. All the other ones lose money, and understanding that college football are completely operated independently, so they don't count. And I'm not going to click on this NCAA finance because it opens up an audit, but you'll be able to look at it on the PowerPoint and look at it for yourself if you're curious. Now, obviously, a big key to making this stuff work is leadership. The NCAA has only had three leaders, three presidents since the inception. Currently, Mark Emmert is still the president, and so these are selected by the institutional presidents. And the biggest thing is they have to have integrity because they are the face that's out there. So that concludes this lecture. What I want to do in the last couple of minutes real quick is show you guys where some of this information is for all this, because I think you guys I hope you know where you're going. So obviously all of these are bookmarks to links for chapter 2. So these will be for the case. It'll also give you a link to the Flipgrid. And guys, all Flipgrid is that you're going to listen to me talk and then you're going to record yourself talking. It's pretty self-explanatory. Here's a link to your case study 1, which you'll have to answer through a PowerPoint. They're 2 pretty quick. It'll take you probably 10 minutes to read them. There's about 3 or 4 questions for each. You need to make the PowerPoints look nice. And you also need to email those to me by Sunday. And the Flipgrid is also due on Sunday. And all those links are on there. So kind of buckle down and get done what you need to get done, guys. Good luck this week.